What up? What up? What up? Welcome to the Empire Broadcast Impact. It's your boy, Coach A. Yes, sir. I am mentor, teacher, life coach, business coach, tax professional. I'm all about the positive and making an impact. But today, first of all, before we even get into it, how you guys doing today? Huh? I need to know how you guys doing on this awesome Thursday. Let me give people a chance. Let me share on my page before I dive into this because I am so excited about today's podcast. Have an awesome guest today, and I feel like we're going to make a huge impact on a lot of people. So just bear with me as I make a quick share on my post so that people can see that we are starting. Right. So don't mind me. If you're already here, go ahead and come in and just relax. Let me see if I can hit it real quick. Yep, there it is. Pull it up, hit the share button. Right. So don't mind me. If you're already here, go ahead and come in and just relax. There we go. See if I can hit it real quick. Yep, there it is. All right. So, like I said, today we are talking about addiction and recovery. That's what we're talking about, addiction and recovery. In the United States, listen, we make up 4% of the world's population. So we're talking about the population of the whole world. But however, we make up 27% of the world's overdose deaths. So we're not talking about just taking the drugs. We're talking about people that's dying from overdoses. We make up 25% of the world's population. Opiates are the worst. Opiate overdoses kills about 90 Americans a day. That's about the same as car crashes. Just think about that. 90 Americans a day dying from overdoses. In 1999, the opiate crisis, the death was about 6,000 for 1999. 2019, it jumped all the way up to 50,000 people. So just imagine from 6,000 deaths for the year to 50,000 people. That's horrible. Definitely a crisis. And so we already know that there's some celebrities that has passed away or died from overdoses, right? And I just put down a few. One, Jimi Hendrix. He died at 27 years old. Yeah, he OD on sleeping pills. Heath Ledger. I don't know if you remember Heath Ledger. He was in the movie The Dark Knight. He was the Joker, right? He died at 28. He OD'd on prescription meds. And just so you know that opiates are prescription medication. Opiates are they're a medical class of drugs that people get when they have like surgery or pain, and so the doctor prescribed these medicines. And what happens is they take those and mix it sometimes with cocaine or heroin and stuff like that. And so a lot of it is where a lot of these overdoses is coming from. Prince, right? Everybody know who Prince is. He died at 57 from fentanyl. He had a fentanyl overdose. And we know fentanyl is one of the substances that was in George Floyd's system, as well as a lot of other people as well. So, but it's really, that's really when I took notice to it, or I heard about it with that case as well. And then, of course, Whitney Houston, she died at 48. Now I'm 47 now. Whitney died at 48 years old, but she didn't. She drowned. It says she drowned with cocaine and other drugs in her system. So we know that definitely here in the U.S. it is a major crisis, major crisis. So my guest that's coming on today had her own experience with addictions. Yep. She was out in the streets doing whatever she needed, of course, or whatever it took to feed that addiction, as well as getting arrested several times, and her life just spiraled downhill from addiction. And so not only that, but she recovered from it. And so we're going to hear her story of how she went from spiraling downhill to recovering, and now she's heading a program to help other people get over their addiction. So when we get back, I'm gonna introduce you to her. So please keep it locked right here. We're gonna have a great time. All right, all right. Welcome back to the Impact Podcast. It's your boy Coach A. We talking about addiction and recovery. My lovely guest with me had her own battles with addiction and is now fighting for others. She is the CEO and founder of New Creations Ministries of America, organizer of the annual Recovery Fest event. It's called Hope Lives on Recovery. It's in Bradenton, Florida, which is designed to bring awareness and addiction to those that are suffering and also recovery. She has a heart for outreach in the community. In fact, that's where I met her at an outreach. We was both at the same outreach, giving out food and stuff for a while. She's a mother, a wife, entrepreneur. Please welcome my sister, my friend Marjorie Rainey Man Foster. You know I had to throw that in there. You know I had to throw that in there. How you doing?
Hey, Adrian. Hey, thank you for giving my whole government name. My
Hey, I
goodness,
tried
y'all.
to, and you had so many, I didn't know what to go by, and sometimes they be changing too. You be
I
changing them
know it's
Facebook, so
confusing. It's confusing sometimes. I'm like, what is my name?
so
But
how's my dude Sean doing?
he's good. He's great. Just got off work actually. He's in the house watching the podcast right now.
Awesome. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really enjoy talking to him for sure.
Yeah,
Almost.
he thinks very highly of you. He
Oh,
talks
I
about you
appreciate
often.
that. I was gonna say I almost enjoy talking to him more than and talking to you, but I can't say that.
Listen, don't do that.
No, that's my dude. That's my dude. So,
Yeah, he's a
so
good
I,
one.
so first of all, tell us a little bit about this recovery fest.
Okay, well, Recovery Fest began in 2013. New
Mhm.
Creation Ministries of America, which it was actually New Creation Ministries before God gave me the vision for way back in 2003. Um, so, um, so for a long time, it just kind of stayed in my heart, stayed in my mind. God dealt with me on a whole lot of things, a whole lot of issues. It's
Mhm.
always a process. When, God gives you a vision, there's always a process and a timing for, him to, bring it forward. So in 2013, we incorporated New Creation Ministries of America, and then I began the Hope Lives On Recovery Fest in 2014. That was the very first one. And
Mhm.
it came about, unfortunately, because of my son, Michael Charles Wesley III.
Mhm.
He was murdered July 17th of 2013. And I started my recovery journey back in 2001. Um,
2001.
2001 I started my recovery journey, and many of us in recovery know that it is a process. You go through ups, you go through downs, you have relapses, you have slips, or what have you.
Mhm.
So today I'm proud to say that I have 9 years clean.
Awesome.
And yeah, I
And you look
celebrate.
good too. You look
Thank
good.
you. Thank you. I celebrate 10 by the grace of God in January. So I'm just going to keep on pushing, doing what I can do by His grace. But
Amen to that.
yeah, but Recovery Fest, I had lost like all hope, like because, like I said, I was very new in recovery. Like I started in, I think my clean date is 2012, if I'm not mistaken. I stopped counting a long time ago because counting kind of threw me off. It would because I would always get discouraged because somebody else would have more time than me. So
Right.
I stopped counting and I let go and I let God and I just let Him handle all the details of it. I just try to, keep my nose clean and do what I need to do as He leads and directs me.
Right. So before, obviously, you've been through recovery, and like you said, did you say it was 10 years, nine years
9 years will be 10 in
Yes.
January.
So 9 years ago, you wasn't so clean, right?
No, I was in recovery, but I had a slip.
Mm-hmm.
So being that I started my recovery journey back in 2001, obviously I would have around 20 years or so clean right now had I stayed clean the entire time. But
Mm-hmm.
I had my moments, I had my moments, and it took a lot of just willpower, staying connected with God, through it all, no matter what the circumstances would be. I
Yeah.
always stayed connected with God. Once I got connected with God, and once I made a decision in my heart that I was going to turn my life around, that I didn't want to live like that, because before I got into recovery, before 2001 came about, I was a hot mess. I was
Mm.
out there running, being up all night, partying, you know, um, just doing everything I could do. I had a couple of stints in jail, and I was
You was out there.
selling the drugs. I was out there. I was selling the drugs. I was using the drugs, and I got arrested. My last arrest. Well, when with in during my addiction, my
Mm-hmm.
last arrest, I had quite a bit of drugs on me,
Mm.
and I was facing prison time. And so, as much as I hated going to jail, I knew I didn't want to go to prison. So, so it was at that time, it was during my time in the jail, facing that prison time or what have you, that I really laid it down, that I really asked God to change me, because it wasn't just the fact that I was facing prison time, but I really wanted to be there for my kids.
Right.
My mom had been taking care of them, and I hadn't been stepping up as a mother.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't able to. Being caught up in addiction, it really takes you away from who you are and everything else. You don't care about anything except getting that next drug.
Right.
You don't care about where it comes from. All you care about is getting it. You don't care what it takes to get it, and where you got to go. I've done some crazy stuff. I remember
As you talking about
walking,
as far as getting money to get drugs.
right, getting money to get drugs, or just going to get them if I had the money. I remember one time I was out there, and I was walking around in a hurricane. So it was really, really bad, and I'm so grateful to God for delivering me from
Mm-hmm.
that madness, because literally is what it is. It is madness, and just a complete downward spiral,
Right.
living a low life, and not um just not doing or being anything good. Nothing good
So
comes of it.
so what age were you first introduced to drugs?
To drugs, well, of course, many people, I'm not going to say we all, because some people don't. We all experiment with the marijuana, young age, whatever. I
Well,
experiment with the marijuana. That was never for me. The
right.
marijuana, I never could do the marijuana. And the alcohol, I had a very close relationship with alcohol at a very young age. I remember
What's that?
just
I didn't hear any numbers.
so okay, so
We got people. We got to know. We got kids. We got to know what age we need to be really watching them. Obviously, we need to be watching them all the time.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I took my first hit of crack cocaine at the age of 12.
12
12 years old.
March crack at 12.
Crack at 12. It was, um, you know,
Hold on, back up. So hold on, back up. I'm still in shock. Like, how does a 12-year-old get crack?
well, when you don't have any guidelines, and I'm not putting anybody down. I'm not trying to
No, of
throw
course
anybody
not.
under
Of
the
course
bus or
not.
anything like that. I love my family, love my mom, love
Absolutely.
everybody. I ain't throwing nobody nowhere.
Hmm.
But when you don't have that structure, when you don't have those guidelines, when you don't have the
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 guidelines, I get it.
yeah,
You
when
get
you
it.
don't have that and you just free to roam and do, and you
Hmm.
just kind of looking to get in where you fit in, and the only place you fit in is in the crack house.
Right.
Even though I was hanging with the dealers,
Hmm.
you know what I mean, there were those moments when the smokers, being that I was so young, there was this one guy in particular who would sneak the drug to me when nobody was around. He would sneak the drug
This
to
was why
me.
you was 12 at
Right,
12.
right.
And how old was he?
He was grown. He was,
He was grown.
yeah, he was a grown man. He was fully active in his addiction.
Hmm.
Back in those days, it was just very much chaos. Just being in that situation, being around those people.
Hmm.
And so he would sneak it to me, and me, I just did it because just because I didn't have anything to do, or I had already, been drinking and
Hmm.
you know doing other little things, but nothing like the crack. Like I'd already experimented with the cocaine, the powder cocaine. Um,
Okay. So at 12 years old, you experimented with powder cocaine already as
mhm,
well,
yeah.
and then crack cocaine as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that experience, that was me initially experiencing the drug.
Hmm.
I did not continue to use the drug, but that opened the door to me later becoming fully addicted to the drug. You
Which
know,
one we talking about? You talking about both of them or
it started with the powder.
right?
It started with the powder, and then of course, spiraled downward into using crack cocaine.
So, question during this time, right? Obviously, you was very young during
Hmm.
this time. So, did you have any friends? Like, what were your friends into?
No, not really.
Hmm.
I've always been a person that kind of kept to myself. I've always had a big struggle in my life, and it was anxiety. I didn't know what
Hmm.
it was back then. I just always felt like something was wrong. You know what I mean? Like something
Yeah.
wasn't right, something was wrong. I always felt bad. I always felt like I didn't fit in. Just being around people made me uneasy,
Mm.
and little things. And so, to talk to people never really came easy to me. So I was always kind of quiet and shy, and never really communicated with people on that level. So I really wasn't hanging around anybody. It was mostly just me hanging around with my cousin. She was my best friend. And she was the one that I hung around with. She didn't know though that I
Hmm.
was doing anything like that. Of course, being a young girl, sneaky or whatever, you
Hmm.
tend to keep things bottled up. I stayed in the closet for a long time, and nobody knew that I was doing those things.
Now,
Um,
what about school? Was you skipping school, or you still was able to hide it, get good, decent grades, bad grades? How was your school life?
well, my school life was it was different because I really didn't have any guidelines.
Guy, and so you didn't have to go to
I
school.
didn't have to go to school. I was, it was my choice, whether or not I went to school, and 9 times out of 10, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I was a very smart girl. I could go to school and, on test day and take the test and pass it, and have missed like half of the school year or whatever, but and did no homework, but I could always pass those tests. But anyway, yeah.
So
So
so no guidance, was it no guidance from either parent, or you was just one parent, grandparent? What was your
it was one parent, but
one
it was
parent?
a
Yeah.
lot of moving around for me.
Yeah.
It was the thing about that was that I was never home on a continued basis. I was
Mm-hmm.
always at a different relative's house, and being at a different relative's house, kids can be funny and
Mm-hmm.
and and mean a lot, and I just always felt out of place. Was always the one who ate too much or didn't
Mm-hmm.
have the right kind of clothes, or you know what I mean, was picked
Yeah.
on. I'm really not trying to get on my soapbox here, because I'm over all that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Right.
over that. My past is in my past. It's not
Yeah.
dictating my future. It's not dictating my
Mm-mm.
right here and right now. It took me a long time to get over that. But like I said, by the grace of God and everything that He's done in my life, He's really stripped me of the hurt and the trauma of my
Right.
past, and helped me to be able to understand how to move forward, in a more productive way, and so every experience that I've had, He allows me to share that with someone,
Yes.
to help them to overcome the things that they're going through, and the things that they've been through, the things that hold them back, so I get a lot of great feedback from the people I get to talk with and get to meet with. They always tell me, you really understand, you really know exactly what I'm going through, where I am, what I've been through.
Mm-hmm.
And so that blesses me. So everything that I've gone through, and it's been a lot. It's been a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I've gone through is useful, to the glory of
Absolutely.
God. Is
Yeah.
useful to the glory of God. So I'm not gonna waste a moment. I don't want to waste a moment of whatever it is that I've gone through, So where I am right now, I use that. I've had
Yeah.
opportunity. Um, I've worked with First Step, and I've had the opportunity to do a lot of things. And I volunteered with many other organizations in
Mm-hmm.
community, doing events and things like that. But it just satisfies me so much. I've had the opportunity to work in both Manatee and Sarasota County jails. I've worked at both Sarasota and Manatee Memorial Hospitals. I've
Mm-hmm.
also, because I was on the drug court program, and drug court was what saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
That last arrest that I was telling you about, where I had all that a high quantity
Mm-hmm.
of drugs. The lawyer that I had got me onto the drug court program, and that program saved my life. It put me into a 6 month long term rehab center, and I was able to stay there. I was able to go into transitional housing. I was able to get a better understanding that
Right.
I didn't have to do the drugs. I didn't have to be that person. That was not a requirement for my life. I could live differently. And it wasn't until then that anybody cared to tell me that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was only looking down on you, or
Mm-hmm.
shaking the head, or just nothing,
Yeah.
just
So
nothing.
quick question. So at the time you went into that program, how old were you at that time? Around,
Well,
obviously.
I was I don't know.
Was you in your 20s, your
I
30s?
was I was probably in my 20s. Let me see. That was in
Okay.
2001, I believe, that I went into that program. What year um
You gonna ask me
did
a question?
9/11 happen? Was that 2001 or 2002? That was 2001, right?
I think so. Nine. I
Okay,
only remember the 9 and the 11.
9/11. You know, when the
That's
twin
all I
towers.
remember. Yeah, that's all I remember is the date. I don't remember the year.
I think it was 2001. Or it might have been 2000. I think it was 2001. But I was
Okay.
there at the rehab when that
Right.
happened. Yeah.
Okay. So the question is just trying to get a
Numbers.
visual of your journey. So
Uh-huh.
you experiment and start around 12 years old,
Right.
right? And so from
Hmm.
12 years old, have you always dabbled into the drugs the whole time all the way up until that time, or did you have a
No.
period where you were like, you know what, I need to stop doing this, and
Yes.
maybe
Yes.
got focused?
Yeah, definitely. I experimented from just a little bit here, a little bit there from like not 12. I probably started back up again at like around 13, 14, and just experimenting, just here and there,
Right.
not very much at all. And then I got pregnant for the first time at 15.
Mm-hmm.
So once I got pregnant, I stopped, right? I stopped the hard drugs. I
Mm-hmm.
still would drink a little, but any hard drugs I didn't do. And it seemed like once I got pregnant at that early age, it was almost like I stayed pregnant for the next 4 years. So
So that helped you for 4 years, huh?
yeah, and then going into raising the kids and being
Mm-hmm.
there for them and trying to be a good mother, even at a very young age, and not really
Yeah.
understanding the dynamics of being a good mother and what that really entailed, just kind of winging it and just trying to be different, you
Exactly.
know.
And battling, and I'm sure battling urges as well, because you have to,
I
you
really
have to
didn't.
force yourself to do the right thing, or no.
Right. I really didn't in those early years of my kids' life. I really did not have the urges. I started back using like in 94, 95, somewhere
So
around
what
that area.
so was it like a particular incident, a particular party? Did you lose a job? Was you frustrated, anxiety high, as
It
far
was
as you can remember?
it was it was the I had gotten a little bit of money, and I was hanging
Pocket oh,
around some
your pockets
people.
was swole.
Yeah,
Your
money is a
pockets got
trigger.
swole.
Money is a trigger. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like for people in recovery, they recognize that money is most definitely a trigger to
Mm.
relapse. So I got a little bit of money, and feeling myself a little bit, want to go party, hang out, whatever, and just ended up hanging out with the wrong people and doing the wrong things, and got caught up. Got caught right back up into it, but this time it kind of grabbed me a lot stronger than
Mm-hmm.
it had ever been able to grab me before. Before I could just, I could jump in and jump out, jump in and
Yep.
jump out like double dutch. But this time I jumped in, but I couldn't jump out.
Mm.
It was like it was grabbing me, it was holding me. I couldn't jump out. I could not make the transition back to just being okay. So that kind of started my phase of secretive using. Nobody really
Spiraling downhill from there.
spiraling downhill. I was,
Yes.
in the closet using, and it just works from there.
So you find yourself at the recovery. First of all, you're from Bradenton. Are you
I'm from
from Bradenton?
Sarasota.
From Sarasota.
Hmm.
Okay. So you was raised. I'm assuming you was raised in Sarasota too, or
Yeah, well, like I said, I
you
moved around a
moved.
lot. So
Hmm.
I was in Sarasota, I was in Bradenton, I was in Palmetto. I kind of went from relative to relative to relative for a long time.
Okay. So when you start your recovery process, so this first of all, how many times have you started recovery process? Was it
Well,
just once, or did you? I think you said you. I know you said you've backslidden, or you've. What do they say when you mess
you
up again?
relapse.
Yeah, you said you relapsed
Hmm.
once. So
No,
tell
I
me about.
relapsed more than once.
Okay,
Um,
so now are these relapses from recoveries? Like you start a recovery, obviously, and then you have your relapse.
right. So when you start your recovery, you have your start date, and this is
Mm-hmm.
the date that you move forward from, as far as this is your clean date. Okay, and you keep that date. And I frequented a lot of the Narcotics Anonymous meetings, the Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. I did.
Mm-hmm.
I love the meetings. They helped me tremendously. But I gathered the tools that I needed while I was in the program for 6 months. I got a complete understanding of what it
Mm-hmm.
took to stay off the drugs. I got a real firm grasp on that. It was after that, it was just a matter of um, me saying, forget it. I'm gonna go and do what I feel like doing right now. I'm gonna go out and try it again, because I think I can handle it. I could do
Right.
just one.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really never the case. It's really
Mm-hmm.
never the case. And sometimes if you can just do just one and then back up, eventually it's going to grab you again, and you're
Mm-hmm.
going to be back in the position that you were in. And so my relapses, I think I had one relapse that kept me out there for like 8 months
Mm-hmm.
after I had gotten clean. So that was pretty much my longest relapse. Um, and then
When
there
you
were just little times in between, but I never discounted those times, because I felt like if I used. I'm not going to go out and say I was clean from this date way back here, when I know that on this date I got high. So then
right.
therefore my clean date starts over from that point.
Right. So
you know
that's a very important point that you made about relapsing and recovery, as far as not thinking that you can just take one hit and you'll be
Mhm.
okay because you've been so long without it, or you just want to try it or whatnot. You really have to stay firm on your whole process, or
Yes.
else eventually it will get you.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. It'll pull you down, and it's always, a lot of times it's always in the back of your mind, especially, if you live in an area where it's prevalent, where there's always activity,
Hmm.
drug activity going on, the house down the road, there's always traffic coming in and out of there, and what's
Right.
going on. There's so many triggers, that can pull you back so easily. And so for me, it took me really getting a solid, firm foundation. It took God to put a firm foundation under me and
Hmm.
give me that solid rock to stand on, and and go from there. Because had it not been, because it's like the song says, on Christ the solid rock I stand,
Exactly.
everything else is sinking sand. So if
Sinking
I try to
sand.
do it on my own, I can't do it. I can't do
Hmm.
it. I really had to give it to God, and let him change me from the inside out. Take that desire, take that urge, take that hurt and that hunger away from me. So when
Hmm.
I have those times of low feeling, emotional feelings, when I don't feel like, being a mother to my kids, or when I don't feel like, doing whatever, when I don't feel
Hmm.
like paying the bills, and I just want to run back out to the streets because it's an easier, softer way out there. I don't have the responsibilities out there, but I always recognize that just because you feel like you don't have those responsibilities out there, they haven't gone anywhere. Somebody else is just picking up your slack. See,
Yep.
and I never wanted to be a burden on anyone. My mom, she had my kids for 5 years. I'm so thankful that she was there to do
Hmm.
that. But once I was able to get my feet feet on solid ground. My whole purpose was to go back and get my kids, and my whole purpose was to stop using because I never wanted to be an embarrassment to them. You know what I mean? Like I
Yep.
never
Yep.
wanted them to see me out there running in the streets, looking all kind of crazy, acting all crazy. I
Mm-hmm.
never wanted to embarrass them like that. So I got myself together. They were still young, for the most part, when I got myself together and brought them back home, and we got very heavily involved in the church, and
Mm-hmm.
life just changed. Life
So
just turned around from there.
that's awesome. Definitely a miracle because a lot of people don't have that same story. A lot of people end up succumbing to their addiction anyway, either by, being homeless, losing their kids permanently and losing their freedom permanently or losing their life, all these different things. So you apparently, through the grace and the power of God, was able to turn that around, and that's
Absolutely.
amazing. And so that struggle now is because that's your testimony is where your power is. There's a lot of girls and people that's out there, 12-year-old, 13-year-olds,
Hmm.
15-year-olds, that don't have anybody to turn to. They don't have anybody that understand, and that's an area that you'll be able to have a huge impact on by continuing to, you know, teach and, you know, focus on that recovery aspect. So is your volume still on?
It's still on. Yeah,
Oh,
can you
okay.
hear
Yeah,
me?
you was mouthing like
Oh no, I was gonna say something, but then you said something, so I didn't want to cut you off.
no, go
But yeah,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, that's always been my heart. Even though I've been working with adults,
Mm-hmm.
it's been very gratifying, and it's where my heart has been. But I really want to work with the children, work with the kids and catch them at an early age and kind of
Mm-hmm.
divert them from going into that lifestyle, and work with the kids who are experiencing trauma of not having the parents there with them. I was blessed to be able to work with families who
Yeah.
have lost their kids and to help them to work towards completing their family reunification requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Work towards helping them meet those goals, stay on track, stay on task. Become able to visit with their children. And things like that. It was a real blessing. To be able to do that, and that's really what I would like to do more of. And even this year, because every year with Recovery Fest, we've done we try to do something for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, of course, we didn't have the actual festival because of COVID. The year before, we had the hula hoop contest, $100
Mm-hmm.
hula hoop contest,
I
which
remember
is
that.
always fun. Yeah.
We can't
This
have that.
year,
You got to have a different contestant because that what it was that lady who won was she
Pastor
was too
Rachel,
good.
Pastor Rachel.
She was too good.
Yes, yes, but guess what? This year she is going to be our sponsor. She has a daycare center
Mm-hmm.
called Free to Grow Academy. So her and her kiddos are gonna be the sponsors for this year's kids run for recovery. And let me show you this. I don't have
Yeah.
all the flyers ready for the Recovery Fest just yet, but I did complete this.
Tell us
And
the date.
it's September 25th.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be held this year. It's going to be in Palmetto, Florida. It's going to be held at Sutton Park.
Sutton
Um,
Park.
yes, I'll have the flyers out with more details. This year we're going to have the kids run for recovery. It's going to be really nice. We're going to have it set up really nice for them. We've connected with a lot of community resources. We've
Mm-hmm.
connected with a lot of, because what I want to do is, I want to link up with other resources in the community so that, we're not only one dimensional, we're able to, get you to the resources that you need to have in order to, build upon the foundation that you've already got. If you're coming home from jail, from prison, whatever, we
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to get you into a recovery house, a safe environment for you, because 9 times out of 10 that recidivism rate is so high, for people coming out of jails and prisons, and if they don't have those things in place, the easiest thing to do is to turn back to the streets, or to turn
That's
back
right.
to what you know, or to turn back
What
to
you
the
know.
people that you know are going to be there to give you that first drug to start you
Exactly.
right back up where you left off. But
Hmm.
that solves nothing. And a lot of times you got kids, you know in the lurch, just kind of hanging on by a thread, waiting and hoping and praying that mama comes back, or daddy comes back, and so for me that's a heartbreaking thing.
It is.
Yeah, because that was kind of my situation coming up. Like, I always was just waiting for my mom to come back, and it was it was hurtful. It was very hurtful, but to God be the glory.
Hmm.
She was there for me when I needed her the most. She took care of my children,
Hmm.
when I wasn't able to. And she didn't take them and drop them off anywhere. She kept them. She kept
You
them,
had to make
and
that
she
point.
took
Like
good care of them.
she was a
Yeah,
little better. She was better
yeah,
with them.
yeah, yeah. So
But that's the
I
process. But that's the process for all of us as
yeah,
parents. As we get older, we mature, we learn, and our mind changes, and we're not the
right,
same as we was back then. So I mean,
right.
that's understandable for sure. So it's awesome
Absolutely.
that she matured enough and she was able to help you, because, like you said, that helped you through your process. You was able to, to go through your process and knowing that the kids was okay. And so once you got yourself together, it was just easy to transition and get the kids back. And so I think that's amazing for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely continuing to help. Have you ever been to the detention center?
Um, I I think I went there once on a speaking engagement. It
Hmm.
wasn't me. I wasn't the speaker. I went with someone else. I've also gone with the Narcotics Anonymous programs.
Hmm.
I've gone into different places with them. So, yeah, I think the Juvenile Detention Center was one of the places I've gone to. I do want to get more involved in that. I'm just kind of working on right now, working on getting a structure in place, and making sure that we make an impact at the places where we're
Nice.
supposed to. Yeah, absolutely. We want to make an impact in the places and with the people that we're supposed to make an impact with. I don't want to just be popping like popcorn here, there, and everywhere.
Hmm.
I'm trying to get clear direction from God and know that this is the population, these are the people that I'm
Hmm.
assigned to in this season in my life, or put things in place with the organization so that we're able to support the different programs and ideas that he's given to me. So I'm really trying to do things right. I previously have um just run with stuff. God give me an idea, I'm like, pew, I go just do it. But
Right.
because of my I'm such a person who is just so self-reliant.
Hmm.
I've always, been self-reliant because I feel like I've always been a burden on people. So I've always been reluctant to ask for help, or it's been hard for me to be able to receive help that people try to give me. I didn't
Yeah.
know how to receive that, so it's very hard.
That's
But
in the
this year,
Bible. It's
where
in the
what is that?
Bible. If you don't ask, you don't receive.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But when you don't know how to ask and you don't know how to receive,
Hmm.
then what can you do? But I had to
Exactly.
really, cry out to God and ask Him to help me with that. You know, and this year I've reached out to some people. I've got a lot of support. I've connected with not only ministries, church families,
Hmm.
people who are in recovery houses, recovery programs, mental health awareness
Yes.
organizations. I'm connected with Kids with Hope, which is an organization that provides support to children of incarcerated parents. So these, I want to be like the octopus with all the arms, reaching out to all the areas that,
Yeah.
and touching all the people that needed to be touched. But it can't just be me. It can't. I'm connected with you, Adrian. Connected with Impact. Connected with Jesus Generation. connected with
Mm-hmm.
so many different people and organizations who are so willing to help, and then being able to um, see that they want to help, and being able to receive that. It took a lot for me to be able to do that, but I'm grateful. I'm grateful that
Yeah.
I'm in that place right now where I could do that, because anything I try to do on my own is doomed to failure, and
Is
I'm
doomed
really
to
just
fail.
tired. Yeah, I'm tired of failing. I fail forward, but failing don't feel good. you know
No.
so every year, I'm doing something, and it turns out great, but to me, it didn't have the impact that it could have had. So
Right.
this year, I have very high expectations, for the impact that this is going to have on the community. And God is just leading me in a lot of different directions, and I'm
Well,
thankful.
well, you know that consistency is the main thing, and you being consistent. So
Mhm.
you don't ever want to judge by your numbers or your personal feelings. You just stay consistent. That's part of the principle to having an impact is being consistent,
Mhm.
because there's people in the background that you may not see that you're having an impact on, and they probably look forward to the event every year. You know, and as far as dealing with other organizations, it's always great when you can, make room for other organizations to do what they do.
Right.
You
Absolutely.
don't we don't have to do every single thing. We can just bring people in to do what they do. You have an
Mhm.
organization that loves to give out food to people,
Mhm.
and
Right.
so you can bring them in and let them give out food.
Right.
Organization that loves to give out clothes or whatever the situation is. And so if you plan your events around that and reach out to these people, then you'll
Mhm.
definitely, continue to make an impact, and it'll have a huge impact. I mean, a good outcome. You won't
Absolutely.
get people going back and forth. So what I want to do now is I do have some prevention notes that I took to kind of help, parents, you know, when it comes to, dealing with their kids, trying to keep their kids from starting at a young age and, or just prevention altogether. Obviously the human mind at some point they're going to do whatever they want to do. We know that for sure, but there are different strategies that can help. And so you can stick around for that if you like. One of the things I would say that parents teach and encourage their kids to stay away from drugs themselves. Just you as a parent talking to your kids, discouraging them from taking drugs, the percentage drops 50%.
Right.
Just that alone, you as a parent, having those difficult talks and just saying, you know what, that's not nothing you want to get involved in, nothing you want to do, stay away from it. I'm gonna hurt you, I'm gonna kick your butt, whatever you need to say to let them know or
Yes.
discourage them.
Yes.
But let it come from you, right? not
Yeah.
not not from the friends or the
Right.
teacher. Let it come from the most important people in their lives, for sure. That'll help.
Absolutely.
Cuts it down
Absolutely.
50%. And if you want to add anything, please, you feel free to. The next I would say, be active in your child's life. Get to know their teachers, their friends, coaches. I know sometimes it's hard, especially when you have single parents, they got to work all day and taking care of everything. But if you have the opportunity, take that opportunity to get involved in your
Yes.
kids' lives, knowing their teachers,
Yes.
knowing that they have a parent that'll show up to the school at any minute, that'll talk to the teachers. You have the
Mhm.
teachers' email addresses and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Noticing or knowing who your kids hang out with, their friends, what's
Right.
their names, get to talk
Right.
to them, introduce yourself.
Absolutely. And
All
can I
these
just say
things,
something?
absolutely.
Yeah, and I want to speak to the grandparents who are raising their
Mm-hmm.
grandchildren,
Yep.
for whatever reason. Your kids are on drugs, or, passed away, or what have you. Man, if you're tired, because grandparents get tired. I'm raising my granddaughter,
Mm-hmm.
and grandparents get tired. We've lived our life. We are older, and this is, a difficult time. And I want to encourage you, grandparents, to Reach out for help. Talk to people. Let them know
Mm-hmm.
how you feel. Don't allow yourself to be overly stressed. If you can, get another family member to take those kids off your hands for, a few hours, a day, or what have you, to regenerate yourself, to, get your strength back up, to get your rest, then do
Yes.
that. Do that. But most importantly, get the help that you need, because a lot of times, grandparents are older. A lot, well, right now, grandparents are younger. So,
Tell me about it.
because I have 5 grandkids and one on the
Yeah,
way. So,
exactly.
so yeah, but
We are
we
the
are younger,
exception.
but you do have some elderly grandparents, and I see them
Hmm.
all the time. At the grocery stores with the kids and the little ones, and they're struggling.
Yep.
So y'all grandparents, reach out for help. There is help available. Just do what you need to do. Reach out for help. And also, you guys can reach out to me. My
Hmm.
website is ncmoa.life, and also the phone number where you can reach me at New Creation Ministries of America if you like more information about Recovery Fest, or peer services. I'm a certified peer recovery specialist. I do provide peer coaching services. And if you'd like more information about that, you can reach me at 813-358-7729. That is 813-358-PRAY. So call
Awesome.
me anytime.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get some of this stuff on the screen. I dropped the ball there. So, all right. Number three, be a good example for your kids. You know how teens are. They love to count out, or they know how, they love to call out hypocrisy, especially in their parent. They once they get to a certain age, they act like it's their job to figure out what their parents is doing wrong or what they're doing that's contradictory. You know what I'm saying? So as a parent, if you don't want your kids to take drugs, right, or to succumb to addiction, then you need to be that first example. You need to be that first example of staying away from drugs. And if you have a problem, get help.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you have a problem, get help, because that, again, we are their first defense when it comes to the next generation. Definitely. Know
Absolutely.
where your children are. Did you want to add anything? I'm sorry.
No, no, go ahead.
Oh, know where your children are and what they are doing. So in my household, my mom used to always tell me that, this ain't no hotel. You can't just leave and be going all day and come back. You need to call. I had to call her like every 2 hours or whatever was going on. She made sure that she called it checking in. I used to hate it, but that was her rule. I had to check in. And so that's very important as a parent that you establish these rules, know where your kids are, make them check in, recognize their habits. I know that the kids these days are faced with a lot more when it comes to exposure than we were, right? Because you have the internet, you have, the TV, you have all these different things that is pulling for our kids' attention, and sometimes negatively teaching them negative things. Where back in the day we didn't have cell phones like that. All we had was the
Mm-hmm.
TV, and at 12 o'clock the snow was coming up. So, it was a little bit easier in that aspect. But now you have to be real diligent as parents. You have to be really focused on your kids, recognizing their habits, right?
Yeah.
Understanding what they're doing, if in these and recognizing changes and within your kids' lives. Also, you want to be the one to teach your kids, right? To how to say no. I know it seems obvious, but it's not. Be the one to teach them. Have them prepared. Work, say different scenarios. You'd be surprised if you prepare a kid earlier, then it'll just be easier to flow whenever somebody come up to them or like their peers and stuff like that. So they'll already be ready to that, to give a response, and teach them how to give a response. Tell them different things you can tell them. Be like, no, tell them no, your parents is gonna kill you if you do that, or what I'm saying, no, you need to to study, or or the commercials we used to have. This is your brain on drugs. These are different things. But if you teach your kids and instill these things within your kids, then they're less likely to succumb to addiction and to get involved in drugs all that much. Of course, nothing's 100%, but 50%, 75%, the numbers start working for you rather than against you. And then, of course, build self-esteem within your kids as well. You want to make sure that they are confident. They know how, when it comes to making decisions and just period, not being nervous or scared when it comes to speaking up for themselves. That's very important, because they say that during the adolescent age, kids that are, intimidated or, insecure are very or more susceptible to succumbing to peer pressure, right? When you in that stage. So that's why it's important that, you teach your kids at a young age to be confident in themselves. Make rules and stick to them. It seems kind of obvious, but yes, make rules. Building strong habits inside the kids is important, right? No drugs or no smoking, no drinking. Obviously, you want to follow these rules, but establish rules that the kids recognize, when it comes to even cleaning their rooms and having a structured home. When you do this, it teaches the kids about structure and it builds habits within them. And so that helps a lot as well. And then, of course, making your home a safe, drug-free environment, right? That goes along with being the example. Obviously, if you don't want your kids involved in any of these things, then you don't have it around. Don't have it around at all, so that they don't see it, they don't smell it. It's best as you can. Obviously, when they go to school, it might be different, but with me, what I did with my kids is I just shield them from it. Obviously we talked about it, but I made sure that of course I didn't take any drugs around it when I had kids, anyways. But I kept them away from it, and of course, regular doctor visits. Take your kids to the doctor so that they can get regular checkups, because doctors, they know things. They can recognize just as much as parents can, different behaviors or moods and stuff like that. So they might not be professionals when it comes to drug abuse and stuff like that, but they are a line of defense. And obviously they can draw blood and tell you. So, but I'm gonna tell you an interesting fact, though. An interesting fact is that kids, and I forgot where I put my notes at, but between the ages of 17, adolescents from 12 up to 17, during that age, if you keep your kids from drugs during that time, I think it's like 50 to 70% chance that they won't be addicted or they won't succumb to drugs after that age when they get older. The reason, and if they're the kids that are exposed to drugs at that young age, are highly susceptible to becoming addictive. It's something within the brain because it's not completely developed yet. And so as you introduce drugs and alcohol and stuff like that at a young age, then it alters your brain a little bit. You become used to it. So you can definitely relate to that a little bit, right?
Yep, absolutely. It's called the hijacked brain. And see, and then there's a population of us who if we did have parents who used drugs and we were exposed to that,
Mm-hmm.
at an early age, we're much more susceptible to becoming addicted as well. And not only that, some of us, because as you experiment with the drugs and things, growing up, going to high school, going to college, you experiment with those things. You probably have some alcohol, you might have
Mm-hmm.
a little something at a party or whatever. You go home, sleep it off, and go on about your life. But there's some people who have a certain chemistry makeup in their brain that that drug is going to hijack their brain, and it's going
Mm.
to take them to a place where they can't just go home and lay down and go to sleep and sleep it off. No, they have to go and get some more. They have to keep the party going. The party, for them, it can't stop. It doesn't stop, until either they, pass out, or, what I mean, end up in some crazy situation, end up in jail or whatever. But
Yeah.
that situation there is called the hijack brain. It's just, and it's because of the chemistry makeup in some of our brains. So yeah, some of us unfortunately have that situation. It's just like, having diabetes. 9 times out of 10, if your parents have diabetes, you have that gene, you're going to end up having the diabetes, and you can't eat things that normal people eat. You want to be able to
Yeah.
eat those things, but if you do, it's going to cause a reaction. Well, the same thing with the alcohol and the drugs. You want to be able to party like your friends party, and then go home and go to sleep, sleep it off, wake up, go to class, and everything is fine. But you just can't do that. So, yeah,
Exactly.
that is the,
Well,
the, the illness of the disease of addiction. Yeah.
yeah. Well, Marjorie, it has been an awesome, awesome show. I was so blessed to have you here telling your story and your
Thank you.
insight. So wise.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you're doing, that you've done. You've been such a blessing to me. You've been more than a friend. You've been a counselor. You've been a
This is
supporter,
about you.
an
It's not about me.
encourager. I'm telling you, I'm just giving you your props because a few times I might not have made it without those words of encouragement from you. So I really appreciate you, and I appreciate what you're doing. You're doing a great thing. You're making a very great impact.
Pun intended.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Tell Sean, give Sean a big old hug for me,
I
dap him up,
will.
whatever. You know how us
Yeah.
guys are.
I got you. I got you.
So I am so happy for you guys. So
Thank you.
definitely send my love to your family. I appreciate it, and we'll have to do it again. I'll get you back here real soon.
Absolutely. Anytime.
All right. Thank you.
Yes,
Bye.
sir. Take care.
So that was so awesome, having Miss Margie here, giving her account of her and her history of what she's been through and how she was able to overcome and what she's doing now to help other people. She's really making an impact when it comes to recovery, addiction and recovery. That is a touchy subject for a lot of people because a lot of people just don't know what to do with their loved ones or relatives that are addicted. And so it's always awesome that we have people that are called to that environment. They're called to that ministry. And so whenever we come across people who have issues, we can get help. We can get help from other people. And so I think that is just so amazing how God connects everybody together with their own personal stories, their own background, and their own ministry, and how it comes together to help us out. So, again, I appreciate everybody that chimed in. Shout out to Sean. Mr. Sean, I appreciate you, dog. I love you, bro. Isaiah Mays, that's my son. Jennifer, I appreciate you and your comment. DJ YJ for sure. Homeboy JB, Jeff McKinley. Again, it's all love to you guys. Stay tuned. I got some more interviews coming for sure. The month of July is going to be very, very busy. I got some interviews all month. I got a young surgeon, the guy who operated on my foot. I got another young lady that's coming who, she too was in jail for a while and she lost her kids and she was able to get her kids back. So we're going to hear her story. I got some couple business owners that's going to tell their story of how they got, involved in their business and how they got to where they are. So I'm really excited about sending this information out to the world and just, interviewing everyday people like you and me. We interviewing everyday people like you and me that's making an impact in our area. So again, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Until the next one, Coach A, I'm out of here.